Senate will come to order. Senators will be in their seats. The clerk will call the roll.
Alley, Baumgartner, Berger, Billinger, Boyan, Bowers, Denny, Dahl, Estes, Falscadeau, Fitzgerald, Francisco, Givens, Goddard, Haley, Hardy, Hawk, Hensley, Hildebrand, Hollow, Kelly, Kershaw, Longvine, Lynn, Masterson, again, Olson, Peterson, Petty, Pilcher Cook, Pyle, Rogers, Schmidt, Skubal, Solotrop, Sykes, Taylor, Tyson, Wagle, Wilborn.
We have a guest chaplain this afternoon. Reverend Shirley Heermans is from the historic St. Mark's African Methodist Episcopal Church in Topeka. Senators and their guests, please rise and give prayerful attention to the chaplain.
Let us pray. Almighty God, maker of all things, judge of all people, I stand before you in this body in a spirit of gratitude for the opportunity, giving thanks to you for each vision and determination born out of this chamber for the betterment of state and country, and I pray your blessings to fall afresh over each seated. As February is recognized as Black History Month, we take opportunity to thank you for your presence and your power exhibited and registered in the chronicles of our human saga. Thank you, God, for the diversity of our humanity. Thank you for the countless numbers of people, both recorded into the pages of history and those names never reported, who, regardless of their gender, age, color, creed, or social status, gave to ensure the freedoms of today. Thank you for the commitment and courage put to action by people who understood that you created all humankind in the magnitude of your likeness. Thank you for the struggles won to break the shackles of slavery. Thank you for all who labored through the toils of civil rights movement. Thank you for the honesties and moralities of people gone before us who fought to redress long-standing harms born from discriminations of all kind. And thank you that today we can say we've come a long way, even in our knowing that we have a long way to go. To this cause, I ask, Lord, for you to continue guidance, that we, the people who have come to the shores of this great country called America, the home of the brave, the land of the free, will one day truly value one another and live in the unity of humanity. Still see us today, God, calls us to be unfettered from any burdens that produce discord. Bless the President and all those who are in position nationally and otherwise to lead us, and cause them never to desire to lord over us. Help us to value always the precepts of our democracy, so to ensure that the history we make from today forward will one day lead to the reality of liberty and justice for all. Bless this day, these people with your presence and your power. I pray in the precious name of He who is the liberator and the reconciler of all. Amen.
Please continue standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
On a point of personal privilege, the chair recognizes the senator from Cali, Senator Alley.
Mr. Chairman, in the balcony, you'll see about 35 of our residents from Winfield. They came on a tour today with the Recreation Commission, and we definitely approve. Would you wave? There we go. Thank you very much for being here, and I'd like to give them a welcome, if you would. Thank you.
An additional point of privilege, the chair recognizes the senator from Wyandotte, Senator Haley.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Mr. Vice President, today I'm personally elevated to spend just a second to welcome the African American leadership and advocacy to our chamber for what is Kansas Black Legislative Day. Along with Senator ks.gov, the senator from Sedgwick, with the sponsors being very diverse, community voice, Kansas Office of the Governor of Kansas African American Affairs Commission, Kansas Black Leadership Council. Many people have come from across Kansas to advocate, to meet with legislators and to advocate for many of the issues that confront not only Black Kansas, Mr. Vice President, but indeed many Kansans, irrespective of color, creed, or socioeconomic stripe. Mr. Vice President, these leaders that are here, these advocates that are here, come, and one of our members asked me, David, why is it that we have to have African American Month? Why is there Black History Month? We're all Americans. And I said, true enough to her, I said, we are all Americans, but too often, Mr. Vice President, so often, sadly, the accomplishments and the abilities to move forward in this great land have been harder fought than we would like to see, for no other reason because of color. And so we stop for a moment today in the midst of asking among some of you, why do we have to have it? To say that we're resolved to look back during Black History Month, to say thank you to those who achieved and to recognize their names. And I was asked to read the list of the African American legislators who had served, but I won't. I will ask that it be made a part of our journal to remember those, but as importantly to their memory and their service, some who are with us today. I should point out that two of our former senators from here of African American descent, Senator Rick Gooch from Sedgwick County, who, as he told me, was the last to serve in World War II and then in the legislature from here, and Senator Donald Betts from Australia now, also from Sedgwick County. So, Mr. Vice President, we're pleased and honored, and again, I won't name the list, but I'll ask that it be made a part of the record of the African American legislators who served. I won't go down the list of the many people of color from Kansas who overcame adversity to have their names listed, some known and that could be named. I won't pick out any one in particular of our great Kansans who came from different corners of this state and who raise a certain amount of pride in their inventions and their ingenuity. And I close again by saying, when the question is asked, why? Aren't we all Americans? But one can, in Langston Hughes, say, I too sing America, I am the darker brother. And we ask, what is America to us when our accomplishments are not recognized, are often subsumed in among the majority, that no original ideas or labors or strengths can be recognized? We pause in the shortest month of the year to say thank you for those on whose shoulders we all stand, because we too sing America. This too is a country that we work together, labor together to build, and that we love. The final passage that I'd like, because it'll be a part of it, is to share with you the passage of, and again, to thank those that have come for this Advocacy Day and to encourage you to continue. But in closing, I want to share with you the words of the Negro anthem, national anthem. It's, lift every voice and sing until earth and heaven ring with the harmony of liberty, and let all of our rejoicing rise as high as the listening skies. Let it resound as loud as the rolling sea. We sing a song full of the faith that a dark past has brought us. We sing a song, though, full of the hope that the present has brought us. I say, Mr. Vice President, I share that with you because the end of that passage is, we will march on until victory is won. Victory is uncertain in the ever-changing ebb and hues of time, politics, but collectively we will continue to raise our voices collectively, to, as Pastor Hermans just said during the prayer, we will continue to serve in our faith and serve in our country, in our state, in our communities. We will march on until victory is won. Thank you, Mr. Vice President.
On an additional point of personal privilege, the chair recognizes the senator from Johnson, Senator Lynn.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. And I just wanted to take a moment to recognize the 29 students who are in the Olathe Oklahoma Park Public School Academy that had the pleasure of wandering around with me and going to committees and seeing how things are done here in the Capitol. And they are from Olathe, Oakland Park, Lenexa, Spring Hill, Bucyrus, Vassar, Paola, and I think I've hit it all. So what a delightful group of students, and welcome to the Kansas Senate. And would you all give them a Kansas welcome?
On an additional point of personal privilege, the chair recognizes the senator from Johnson, Senator Scoobel.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Invention has been a cornerstone of our state, and now we have in our presence another inventor from the state of Kansas. But before I introduce her, I would like to tell a little bit about her. She invented the storm sleeper. Out of 13,000 entrants, she was one of the top 5, receiving a prize of $10,000. And then she was awarded the grand prize, which was $250,000. From there, the storm sleeper device has helped people who are afraid of storms cope with sights, sounds, and extreme weather. The product has already gained traction with members of the Kansas City community and beyond, many of whom I hope will launch this into a national phenomenon. Currently, this young lady is working on a business plan with others. The product has been trademarked and has a patent pending. Not only is she an inventor, but she is active in student government, Girl Scouts, gymnastics, theater, ballet, volleyball, and diving. That makes me tired of reading that. Now, the list is expanded to inventor and budding entrepreneur. I'm pleased to introduce Julia Lecce, her mother, father, grandparents. If you would, please join me in giving them a warm sent welcome. Thank you.
Additional point of personal privilege, the chair recognizes the senator from Labette, Senator Goddard.
Testing. Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Today the galleries are extremely full, so the folks that I'm going to recognize today are standing outside. But if you can hear me, please understand that this is a very popular day. It's the most crowded I've seen in the Senate chamber. This group is Leadership Labette, and they're a group of people who have stepped forward to better their community, and that's very important in a rural community. We have a declining population, we have an increasing aging population, but these people are out there putting forth their best effort every single day to make the community better and take on a leadership role. My only hope is that someday one or more of them would sit in the chairs of this House or the House of Representatives, because they are really some great people. Thank you very much, Mr. Vice President.
Additional point of personal privilege, the chair recognizes the senator from Sedgwick, Senator Wago.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. I'd like to thank the Senator from Wyandotte for pointing out and celebrating with us Black History Month. And I just wanted to point out that we are very privileged in the Senate today to have the first Black female ever elected to the Senate chamber. It's Alita Pascadeau. And she should be honored. She's great to work with. Thank you, Alita.
Speaking of Senator Pascadeau, chair recognizes the senator from Sedgwick, Senator Pascadeau, for point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President, and President Susan Wago. Thank you so much. That really caught me off guard. For once, I was speechless. And I too show honor to you as being the first woman to be the president of the Kansas Senate. Please, let's give Senator Susan Wago a round of applause. Mr. Vice President, it gives me great privilege to also acknowledge Black History Month. And I know one of my colleagues said, how many personal point of privileges are we taking today? But again, February is that short month, so we got to try to do it all on this one day. Senator. So I want to acknowledge the daughter of Senator Rick Gooch, Benita Gooch, who has the Community Voice newspaper. You may have seen it as you enter into our beautiful visitor center. Benita Gooch, also along with Kenya Cox, the director of the Kansas African American Affairs Commission, put on this wonderful day, Black Legislative Day at the Capitol. We have a variety of individuals here. Also, Mildred Edwards, Dr. Mildred Edwards, I saw her. She was the previous Kansas African American Affairs Commission. And Mr. Vice President, if you'll look behind me, there are some commissioners with the Kansas African American Affairs Commission. If you'll raise your hands, and then I see a variety of sororities and fraternity brothers and sisters in the building, the Zeta, Deltas, come on, AKAs, and I see individuals, Dr. Glenda Overstreet and others from the AARP. It's just a host of individuals here, but the people that I'm most proud that are here today, I sit in this seat as the first woman to serve the 29th district in the Kansas Senate, and I was mentored by both of these gentlemen here, Senator Rick Gooch and Senator Donald Betts. I love you so much. And if I missed anybody, and my wonderful friend Azib and Dr. Samuel Brown from Wichita State University, and Brock Booker, he was here the other day and sang for us, and then my wonderful and fabulous interns. Thank you, and Peter, thank you so much, my office assistant. Thank you, and I just wanted to acknowledge this day so that all, and Elaine Guillory with Community Voice and NAACP. Thank you so much. I want to say thank you because everybody here, Mr. Vice President and Madam President, they want to be involved in the state of Kansas and to help us be a better state and grow and be an example to the entire nation of us all working together for a better community and state of Kansas. Thank you, Mr. Vice President.
On an additional point of personal privilege, the chair recognizes the senator from Lynn, Senator Tyson.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. I'd like the body to welcome my nephew, Christopher Tyson. Will you please stand? His parents, Roger and Rhonda Tyson. Christopher was honored today as a member of the Phi Theta Kappa National Honor Society. It's very impressive. Not only did he earn these honors, Christopher earned them while he was battling leukemia. So we are very proud to have Christopher here today with us. Let's give him a standing.
On an additional point of personal privilege, the chair recognizes the senator from Shawnee, Senator Hensley.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. I do want to welcome back to the Senate two of my colleagues, once a senator, always a senator, Senator Gooch and Senator Betts. Senator Gooch represented the 29th District, and then Senator Betts represented the 29th District in Senator County. And now, of course, Senator Faust-Gudeau is taking up that honor as well. And these two gentlemen became very close friends of mine. In fact, Rip, I don't know if you recall this, but we came down to celebrate your 80th birthday, which was 13 years ago. 14 years ago, excuse me. Maybe you gave me the wrong information. 95 this year. And then, of course, my wife and I attended Donald's wedding, and then, of course, he went down under to Australia. But he's pursuing a law degree, which I think is very commendable. He was a great senator, did an outstanding job for the people of the 29th District. And I'd also like to recognize another very good friend of mine who has served long service on the USD 501 school board, Patrick Woods over here. Patrick and Donald were roommates at Friends University, as I recall. So Patrick came over to be sure to see Donald before he goes down under. So it's really great to see you guys, and we appreciate you being here. Thank you.
Please note reference of bills on page 1 of the calendar. Messages from the House. The clerk will read.
Announcing passage of House Bill 2476, House Bill 2505, House Bill 2506, and announcing passage of Senate Bill 283. House Bill 2476, an act concerning alcoholic beverages. By Committee on Federal and State Affairs. House Bill 2505, an act concerning cities. By Committee on Local Government. House Bill 2506, an act concerning cities. By Committee on Local Government.
This constitutes introduction of those bills previously read. Introduction of original motions and Senate resolutions. The clerk will read.
Senate Resolution 1769 by Senators Vascado and Haley. The resolution recognizing the members of Delta Sigma Theta sorority for their outstanding service to the citizens of our state, our nation, and the international community, and for the promotion of sisterhood, scholarship, and service.
The chair recognizes the senator from St. Louis, Senator Vascado.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like for the reader to read the resolution for the Deltas, for the ladies in red. Delta Day at the Capitol. Mr. Vice President, if the reader would read.
Whereas Delta Sigma Theta sorority is a private, not-for-profit organization whose purpose is to provide assistance and support through established programs in local communities throughout the world. The organization is a sisterhood of predominantly Black, college-educated women. And whereas on January 13, 2018, Delta Sigma Theta sorority celebrated 105 years of thoughtful service to and conscientious leadership into communities throughout the United States and the world in diverse fields relating to public service and the organization's 5-point pragmatic thrust: economic development, educational development, international awareness and involvement, physical and mental health, and political awareness and involvement. And whereas on January 13, 1913, Delta Sigma Theta sorority was founded at Howard University in the District of Columbia by Osceola McCarthy Adams, Marguerite Young Alexander, Winona Cargill Alexander, Ethel Cuff Black, Bertha Pitts Campbell, Sefer Kism Carter, Edna Brown Coleman, Jessie McGuire Dent, Federica Chase Dodd, Mira Davis Hemmings, Olive Jones, Jimmy Blunt Middleton, Pauline Oberbifor Minor, Vashti Turley Murphy, Naomi Sewell Richardson, Mamie Reddy Rose, Eliza Pearl Shippen, Florence Letcher Toms, Ethel Carr Watson, Woody Blackwell Weaver, Marjorie P. White, and Edith Mott Young. And whereas in March 1913, the founders of Delta Sigma Theta sorority participated in the Women's Suffrage March in the District of Columbia, the sorority's first public act. And whereas, since its founding, more than 200,000 women have joined the organization. Delta Sigma Theta sorority has 8 chapters in Kansas and 1,000 chapters in the United States, England, Japan, Germany, and the Virgin Islands, Bermuda, and the Bahamas, and South Korea. And whereas Delta Sigma Theta sorority is represented in Kansas by the Kansas State Coordinator, Sue E. Wilson, Kansas State Facilitator, Adrianette Etheridge, Kansas City, Kansas Alumni Chapter President, Jill Hall, Leavenworth Alumni Chapter President Natalie Bino, Topeka Alumni Chapter President Tammy Farr Smith, Geary Riley Saline Alumni Chapter President Dr. Pat Dozier, Wichita Alumni Chapter President Emily McGill, Wichita Alumni Chapter Social Action Chairperson Trudy Baker, Psi Chapter President Jonette Oaks, Eta Gamma Chapter President Shawnee Cabby, and Zeta Phi Chapter President Raven Hodge. Now therefore, be it resolved by the Senate of the State of Kansas that we recognize the members of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority for their outstanding service to citizens of our state, our nation, and the international community, and for their promotion to sisterhood, scholarship, and service during this annual Delta Theta at the Capitol.
Chair recognizes Senator from Sedgwick, Senator Frasca.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. And yes, this has been an unusual busy day in the Senate chamber with the personal privileges that we've had today. But this resolution is an annual resolution for the Delta Sigma sorority members who come here every day or every year. Mr. Vice President, these women that you see in our VIP section, they are in our communities every day, making sure that individual young ladies and young men get their education, go on and graduate high school and college. And they do a lot of volunteer work in our community. They are making sure that all children in the state of Kansas have opportunities. And again, it's an honor to recognize each of you. I'm going to do this really quick, Mr. Vice President, so that the ladies can stand, and then Senator Haley will say a few words, and then we will close, Mr. Vice President. So if the body would please indulge me and recognize these wonderful ladies from across the state of Kansas who are here today with Delta Sigma Theta Sorority. And some of the ladies, a little confusion, Mr. Vice President. I'm not sure if they're in the VIP section or up in the balcony. If you're up in the balcony with red on, please stand as well. But Mr. Vice President, for the ladies that are here, thank you so much for coming and sitting in our VIP section in the Kansas Senate chamber. It's been a delightful day. I hope you've enjoyed it. It's been pretty entertaining. And so, Mr. Vice President and ladies in the chamber, if in fact the ladies that are representing us across the state of Kansas, their chapter presidents, if you are here in the chamber, balcony, or the VIP section, please stand. So we have Coordinator Sue E. Wilson. We have Kansas State Facilitator Adrian Etheridge. We have Kansas City Alumni Chapter President Jill Hall. Leavenworth Alumni Chapter President Natalie Brum. We have Topeka Alumni Chapter President Tammy Farr Smith. Geary Riley Saline Alumni Chapter, Topeka Alumni Chapter President Dr. Pat Dozier, Wichita Alumni Chapter President Emil McGill, who is not here with us today, Wichita Alumni Chapter Social Chair, Action Chair, Chairperson, Mr. Vice President, I know her very well, Miss Trudy Baker, if you would please stand. Psi Kansas University Chapter President Jeanette Oaks. Eta Gamma Kansas State University Chapter President Shanika Gay. And Zeta Bay Wichita State University Chapter President Raven Hodge. Is she here? I feel like I'm on The Price is Right. Come on down. Well, again, it's just an honor to have you ladies here and all the work that you do say your name, Camilla Evans. Stand. Alexander. She's here with us as well. Thank you so much for all you do. And I'm going to yield to the Senator from Wyandotte, Mr. Vice President.
Senator from Wyandotte, Senator Haley.
Just to add, thank you, Mr. Vice President, and thank you, Senator from Sedgwick, Senator ks.gov. Annually, we do recognize a service organization, a sorority that is, in many estimations, par excellence, and we welcome them from Delta Sigma Theta. As I've said before, the ladies of this sorority have a profound influence certainly on my life. My mother is a Delta, my sister is a Delta, my aunts, my nieces, even my former wife are all Deltas. So they certainly know how to mold and shape and to groom and to make a better community in many cases. We salute them, and I thank the Senator from Sedgwick and also the ladies from Delta Sigma Theta for gracing us with their presence again and in the same day. Thank you, Mr. Vice President.
Senator from Sedgwick, Senator ks.gov.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Again, thank you for your commitment and dedication to the young women in Wichita, especially, but throughout the state of Kansas and the nation for higher education and just being a great citizen and here in our state of Kansas. And with that, Mr. Vice President, I move an emergency be declared, the rules suspended, and Senate Resolution 1769 be adopted by voice vote.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. The clerk will read.
Senate Resolution 1770 by Senators Haley and others. A resolution honoring the life of Fred Holloman and his service as chaplain of the Kansas Senate.
The chair recognizes the Senator from Wyandotte, Senator Haley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If our reader would please read the resolution.
Whereas Reverend Fred Holloman served as chaplain of the Kansas Senate for 31 years, retiring in 2012. And whereas Reverend Fred Holloman, known affectionately by all in the State House as Reverend Fred, was born on May 25th, 1925 near Dawson, Georgia. And whereas Reverend Fred's family moved to Dothan, Alabama in 1938, where he graduated from high school in 1942. He attended the University of Alabama for 1 year before joining the U.S. Navy. And whereas Reverend Fred was in the Navy from 1943 to 1946, where he graduated with Midshipman's School of Notre Dame and Aerial Navigator School in Clinton, Oklahoma. And whereas Reverend Fred returned to the University of Alabama, where he received a Bachelor of Science degree in Business Administration in 1949. He worked in a bank for a year and a half. And when he went to Southern Baptist Theological Seminary in Fort Worth, Texas, where he graduated with a Master's in Religion Education degree and a Master of Divinity degree in 1956. He was ordained in the Gospel of Ministry while at the seminary. And whereas Reverend Fred served as pastor for 50 years in 8 different Southern Baptist churches. Last church was in Topeka, where he served as pastor for 14 years. He retired from the pastorate in 2002. Whereas Reverend Fred worked as an administrative assistant in both the House and the Senate, which gave him a unique insider's perspective to the workings of the legislature and the day-to-day challenges faced by both those in public service. Whereas Reverend Fred and his wife Pat were married for more than 35 years and had a large blended family of 9 children and many grandchildren and great-grandchildren. And whereas Reverend Fred's prayers opened each day of the session by encouraging, uplifting, and renewing us, often bringing a smile at a time. As chaplain, Reverend Fred offered inspiration, guidance to the men and women of the Senate through his pastoral presence and his spiritual invocations, often given in a perfect rhyme. Whereas Reverend Fred Holloman passed away on Tuesday, February 13th, 2018 in Lawrence, Kansas at the age of 92. Services will be held on Saturday, February 17th, 2018 at the Emmanuel Baptist Church in Topeka, Kansas. Now therefore, be it resolved by the Senate of the State of Kansas that we joyfully remember the life and spirit of Reverend Fred Holloman and express our gratitude for his service as chaplain of the Kansas Senate. And we further express our appreciation for his wonderful wife, Pat, for sharing him with his body. We benefited from the wisdom, kindness, down-home wit of the original prayers and prayer poems delivered by Reverend Fred in this chamber. We deeply appreciate his devotion to serving God, our chamber, and our people in his unique and prayerful way, and celebrate his life.
Chair recognizes Senator from White House, Senator Hayden.
I thank the reader. I would like to, if I could, Mr. Vice President, before my remarks, ask that to yield to the Senator from Shawnee, Senator Hensley.
Senator from Shawnee, Senator Hensley.
At the beginning of the 2005 session, in my opening remarks to the Senate, I recall the first day of a previous term when our chaplain, Fred Holloman, in his invocation gave us an important reminder as to how we should conduct ourselves. This was one of the few times his prayer was not invoked. So on January the 10th of 2005, he prayed, and I quote, "Help us to resolve now we will not sacrifice what is right for what is expedient. That although we recognize that politics is the art of compromise, we will determine now what principles are not negotiable. That the truth hurts, but lies are fatal. That it's better to lose a battle than to lose credibility. And that the only reason any of us have any authority is by God's permission." Fred Holloman was a great spiritual leader, and he conducted himself with grace and dignity. His life reminds me of one of those stanzas in the poem written so long ago by John Newton that was then turned into a famous hymn that is frequently sung in the Baptist church and other churches. "'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieve. How precious did that grace appear, the hour I first believed." Spent 31 years in this chamber giving the invocation, and he was a great inspiration to all of us who knew him. I would now like to yield to the Senator from Shawnee, Senator Schmidt.
Senator from Shawnee, Senator Schmidt.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. You know, when you first come into the Senate chamber and you learn that you start the day with prayer, it's always been very comforting to me. But the friendship that I developed with Fred, and that all of us that have been in the chamber with Fred, that we developed, was incredible. And for me, I will never forget, my father died during session in 2011, and it was in January. It was at the beginning of the session, and my father was buried in Hillsborough, Kansas, and or is buried in Hillsborough, Kansas, and that's where the funeral services was. That's where my dad was born and raised. But when funeral started, and I looked up, and there was Fred. The funeral was on a Monday. The Senate was in session. And Fred had driven down, or had rode down with some other senators to be at my dad's funeral. And I, to this day, I can't tell you how much that meant to me, how much it still means to me, and just what, that just speaks volumes to me for his character and his caring of us and his prayers for us each and every day that he served as our chaplain. And I'm pretty sure those prayers for each one of us continued as he, when he was no longer the pastor for the chaplain for the Senate. And I'm so saddened to hear of his death, but I am so thankful that I had the opportunity to have that relationship with Fred, and I'm so thankful for his prayers for all of us here in the Senate. Thank you, Mr. Vice President, and I'll yield back to the Senator from Wyandotte, Senator Haley.
Senator from Wyandotte, Senator Haley.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. I thank Senators Shawnee, Senator Schmidt, and Senators Hensley, too, for speaking to this resolution, the motion for which I'll offer in just a moment. I can't really add much to what has been said. I do want to thank Board Carnahan, our Secretary of the Senate, and Zach Friedel, who was with the Advisor's Office. As was noted, Chaplain Holloman just passed within the last 48 hours, and we are wanting to send, by way of his service to this body as our pastor away from our pastors, to lend some, hopefully, comfort to his family as they gather on Saturday, the day after tomorrow, to remember him and eulogize him at 10:30 at Emmanuel Baptist Church here in Topeka. To lift this up, that his memory here is sacrosanct, is precious to many of us who were blessed to be in this body and to have him as our pastor away from home. As has been mentioned, Fred Holloman had a way about him, a wit about him that brought invocations often in rhyme. He had a love of not only ministering, but of sharing the human experience among all of us. He was an approachable man of God, and a man of God who would approach and would try and uplift at every opportunity he could. And so I'm grateful that we can send some small resolution in the remembrance of someone who has the spirit, or brings the spirit that he does. His spirit is with many of us still. And as he rests in peace, we want to say to his wife, Pat, and to his family, that we're grateful that she shared him with so many of us and with this body. I thank again the swift movement of our Secretary of our Senate and of the Advisor's Office that we might now offer this resolution to be shared with those that come to memorialize him, Fred Holloman. And that having been said, Mr. Vice President, I would move that an emergency be declared and rules suspended, and Senate Resolution 1760.
70, sir.
1770 be passed be adopted by voice vote.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. As a reminder to the body, to have your point of personal privilege appear in the journal, please email your comments to the Secretary of the Senate. We are now ready for final action. On this roll call, we will take the following. The first two consent calendar bills on page 2, Senate Bill 294 and House Bill 2437, and the final action bills on page 3, Senate Bill 266, Senate Bill 324, and House Bill 2232. The clerk will read the titles.
Senate Bill 294, an act concerning motor vehicles. House Bill 2437, an act concerning days of commemoration. Senate Bill 266, an act concerning the Crime Victims Compensation Board. Senate Bill 324, an act concerning the Vehicle Dealers and Manufacturers Licensing Act. House Bill 2232, an act concerning adult care homes.
The clerk will call the roll.
Alley. Baumgartner. Berger. Billinger. Boyer. Bowers.
Pass on 324, item passes.
Denny. Dahl. Estes. Foscato. Fitzgerald. Francisco. Givens. Goddard. Haley. Hardy. Hawk. Hensley. Hildebrand. Holland. Kelly. Kirshen. Longbine. Lynn. Masterson. McGinn. Olson. Peterson. Petty. Pilcher Cook. Pyle. Rogers. Schmidt. Skubal. Solentrop. Sykes. Taylor. Tyson. Wagle. Wilborn.
Has every senator had an opportunity to vote? Does any senator wish to change their vote? Senator from Butler, Senator Masters.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. I sent that to Senator from Leavenworth out of the chamber. I believe the president of the building shot him a text if you hold all over. Luckily, we have to change.
I believe he is walking in as we speak.
Perfect, thank you.
Has every senator had an opportunity to vote? Chair recognizes Senator from Leavenworth, Senator Fitzgerald.
I vote aye.
Does any senator wish to change their vote? Does any senator wish to explain their vote? The clerk will close the roll and tally the vote. $38 voting in favor and 0 against for Senate Bill 292, Senate Bill 266, House Bill 2232, and House Bill 2437. 33 voting in favor, 2 opposed to Senate Bill 324. These measures, having received the required constitutional majority, are hereby declared passed. The chair recognizes the Majority Leader from Johnson County, Senator Denny.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. I move the Senate resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole for considerations of bills on the calendar under the heading of General Orders.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carried. The chair appoints a senator from Sedgwick, Senator Peterson, to preside over the Committee of the Whole.
The Senate, having resolved itself in the Committee of the Whole, will now consider those items listed on the calendar under the heading of General Orders. There has been a request to pass over House Bill 2256. We will pass over the bill and it will retain a place on the calendar. We will now turn our attention to Senate Bill 307. The chair recognizes the Senator from Ford, Senator Estes, to explain the bill and adopt the committee report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For the purpose of hearing Senate Bill 307, I would like to yield to Senator Sherman, Senator Billington.
Senator Sherman.
Thank you. I'd like to move to adopt the committee report.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Senator, you may explain the bill.
Thank you. This bill here is the bill that tries to clean up the bill from last year on the amusement rides, the municipal water slides, the agritourism, hay rides, and such. It changes the regulations that change the name to home-owned amusement rides, and these were very negatively affected when the bill passed last year. And most of these rides operate about 3 to 8 days a year, and they shouldn't be regulated like thrill rides that operate at large amusement parks. This bill will take hay rides completely out. They're no longer in the bill. It also takes out barrel trains, which is the little barrels that put wheels on, pull with like a lawnmower or something. They are now excluded from this bill. It reclassifies rides by height rather than age. Additionally, this bill classifies water slides as being 20 foot or taller. And this will help 52 cities. When this bill was worked in committee, there was also an amendment put on to remove all municipal slides from the bill. And I had worked negotiating this over in the House with the Fed and State Chair, Representative Barker, and Vice Chair Ron Highland, and they've agreed to 20 feet. So that's what was in the bill. I do agree with the amendment. I think they ought to all be out, and that's in this bill now as it come out of committee, that all municipal slides are not regulated under this bill. And I support that. We may have to deal with that in conference. Additionally, this will require inspections by a certified inspector on home-owned amusement rides. They'll now move from 12 months to 24 months, so it's biannual instead of annual. And the fact is, most of these rides normally only operate 15 to 50 hours a year. So they're not operated that long. The operators are also required to record daily inspections on these rides, and they also maintain during the days of operation a record. Also in this bill, requirements to qualify for an inspector have been lowered from NARSO level 2 to NARSO level 1, which will lessen the difficulties for owners to find qualified inspectors. I've been told there's like one inspector in Kansas, it's NARSO 2. And I will be coming with an amendment after I explain this bill. The original language says the inspectors will also not be held personally liable for any accidents that occur on the rides. I'm going to have that stricken out. That was something that the House had wanted in there, but We found that if they're not liable, there's a chance that they might not want to have insurance. So in order to make sure that they have insurance, we're going to make sure they're liable. And we were worried and concerned about, the inspectors, local inspectors or fire departments, so forth. They are covered with our city insurance, so we're not affecting them. Insurance coverage in this bill, we also changed from $1 million and $2 million aggregate to $750,000 and $1 million aggregate. And this will help our small home-owned amusement rides. And I'll give you an example. In Oberlin, Kansas, prior to us passing the bill last year, their insurance was running around $12,000 a year. Their total revenue was $15,000. After we passed this bill, their insurance went to nearly $20,000. It was just $19,000 some dollars, which means that they're not going to be able to operate very long when their total revenue is only $15,000. Also in this bill, the registration fees are only need to be paid once. So instead of annually, which will also help out these small operations. While working on this bill, while we was drafting it, I worked with the insurance industry, and we went in there and cleaned up what defines a serious injury, and it's basically one that requires an overnight stay in the hospital or something more serious. But there was a lot of confusion, especially over at the Department of Labor. It was too vague, and so this is an industry standard is what we put into this bill. I also worked with the Department of Labor, and they're going to take care of some of the issues they had over there with some rules and regulations. For instance, fencing. If the insurance company is good with fencing, I think the Department of Labor, the way they indicated, they'll be okay with the fencing. So it won't cause a burden on our homeowners trying to figure out what type of fencing. Some of them are estimating that could cost $25,000 to $30,000 for new type fencing. Also, in this bill, we worked on inflatable devices. And on the inflatable devices, for the inspector side of this, an inspector is required to be an inspector, to become an inspector. And inflatable devices that are rented on a regular basis at temporary locations must have a minimum of 5 years experience working with inflatable devices. Secondly, they must have qualified training from a third party, such as advanced inflatable safety operations, certification from the Safety Inflatable Operators Training Organization, CITO, or similar. In addition to that, the people that set up the inflatable devices that are going to be rented on a regular basis will also have to have a certificate, and they can only be set up by these operators that have obtained a qualified training from a third party, such as the Basic Inflatable Safety Operation, and this certificate from the Safe Inflatable Operators Training Organization, CITO, or similar. And there's some question in caucus this morning about who looks after these inflatables once they're delivered to a church or a school or your backyard. That's something you'll have to work out with the folks you rent the inflatable device from. If they're going to watch it, you'll have to work that out with them, or you'll have to watch it some other way. This bill also removes the hay rides. They're out. It removes barrel rides, which are the little barrels where they cut them out, put wheels on them, pull them with a lawnmower or a horse. They've been removed. Another question that was asked in our caucus was about the equipment like at McDonald's. Some of those have the little inflatables and so forth. That's considered playground equipment, so it's not in this bill. Only commercial stuff that's in the backyard is in this bill. Also, I worked with agritourism on this bill, and we touched up some language for them that takes care of the pumpkin patches and some of those issues. And with that, I would like to offer an amendment. I have.
Do you have the number?
I do. SB 3329.
Are you going to wish to have your amendment read, or do you want to explain it?
I can explain it.
Okay, well, give us a moment to get it distributed. Senator from Sherman, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We're striking the language that said that the inspectors were not held personally liable. They will be held personally liable. This will encourage them to get insurance. And like I mentioned, the folks that work for the cities, they don't need to worry, they're covered in the cities.
Are there questions on the amendment? Senator, you may move your amendment.
I move my amendment.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Amendment is adopted. Back on the bill. Are there further questions for the senator from Sherman? Senator Pacific, Senator Rogers.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I rise in support, and I also just wanted to commend Senator Villager for the hard work he's done on this. I think it really does address some of the issues that we missed last year, and I really want him to know I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Further questions for the senator from Sherman? Seeing none, Senator, you may close.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move when the committee rises and reports Senate Bill 307 favorably for passage.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. Motion carries. And to clarify that, Senator from Sherman, that was as amended on that motion?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, we will now turn our attention to substitute for Senate Bill 323. Chair recognizes Senator from Johnson, Senator Olson for adoption of the committee report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move the adoption of the committee report.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. You may explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We've got a couple bills here, 3 bills. We've had several hearings on them, probably all of them together, about 5 hours of hearings from both sides. The substitute bill is dealing with service territory, and it's also dealing with MEAs, or municipality energy agencies. And what we did was, in 293, we codified into statute how municipality energy MEAs have been regulated for the last 40 years. We've also on the MEAs, how they're governed by board members from the cities. There was a docket open just lately from the KCC, and so we wanted to put this into statute, how they've been regulated and codified. Also, the second piece is Senate Bill 355. We wanted to eliminate some duplication on the regulatory on the transmission of owner co-ops. Also, the third piece is dealing with service territory termination, and what we did was the parties worked together to set up a process, set up a notification of 30 days notice, also to collect the documents and secure a record. Also a compensation piece, 8.5% gross revenue for new customers over a 10-year following period, and then it terminates of a new area annex. Mr. Chairman, I do have an amendment. It's an amendment that was agreed upon by all the parties, just some minor language, so before I stand for questions, I'd like to get that amendment adopted.
Have you turned it in?
I have.
Do you have the number?
Yeah, it's 3263.
Give us a moment to get it distributed. Senator, you may proceed.
Okay, this just cleans up some of the language they've agreed upon. That's all the amendment really does. I'll stand for questions at this point.
Questions for the senator on the amendment? Seeing none, Senator, you may move your amendment.
Move the adoption of the amendment.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed, same sign. Amendment is adopted. Back on the bill. Further questions for the senator from Johnson? Senator from Douglas, Senator Francisco.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't have any questions, but I stand to thank the chair, the members of the Senate Utilities Committee, and those representatives of our municipal energy agencies and rural electric cooperatives, because these were not easy questions that are being addressed. There are good reasons for every electric provider to want to have more customers. So I appreciate the willingness on everyone's part to work together and find what I think is a good compromise.
Further questions for the senator from Johnson? Senator from McPherson, Senator Wilmore.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I too want to stand in support of this bill, and I also want to stand in support and commend Chairman Olson for the long hours that he's worked with the co-ops and the municipals in getting this action together. Normally, the utilities work very good together, but this was a very contentious issue, and Senator Olson brought all the parties together. And as one of the conferees said, I left 2 quarts of low positive blood in the back room on the outside of the slide. So thank you.
Further questions for the senator from Johnson? Seeing none, Senator, you may close.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Definitely want to thank the committee and all their work. We did hear a lot of testimony. Also want to thank all the parties that worked together to come up with a good resolution for Kansans. With that, Mr. Chairman, I move when the committee rising reports, it reports Senate Bill, substitute Senate Bill 323, favorable for passage as amended.
You heard the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll now turn our attention to Senate Bill 312. The chair recognizes the Senator from Shawnee, Senator Schmidt, for adoption of the committee report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move we adopt the committee report.
You heard the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Senator, you may explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, I am very excited to be here today with Senate Bill 312. This bill is a Kansas solution to the issue of expanding access to dental care. As you may recall, the issue of dental therapy has been introduced and spoken of since 2008. The Kellogg Foundation, Reach Foundation, and Health Foundation have all invested countless hundreds of thousands of dollars with proposals and legislation since this time. The legislature has examined various proposals from other states. But this proposal that I'm bringing to you today, this bill, is a Kansas solution. This proposal represents a major step forward in training more dental professionals while preserving quality care for our fellow Kansans. Make no mistake, this bill is a compromise, with some saying it goes too far and others saying it doesn't go far enough. But I hope all of you will agree that while the state doesn't currently have the financial resources to do more in this area, we can and should move forward with this legislation. The bill will allow for the creation of dental therapists to work under the general supervision of licensed dentists to provide non-surgical dental procedures and under the direct supervision of licensed dentists to carry out more complex procedures. These dental therapists would be licensed dental hygienists who would then be required to complete additional training in an accredited course of study, which would include 500 hours of clinical training. Upon successful completion, these dental therapists would be authorized to perform 35 additional procedures. Previous dental therapy bills have called for an additional 38 procedures. The bill has an important focus on treatment for low-income and disabled citizens by allowing for the expanded workforce only in those dental offices where Medicaid is accepted and at safety net clinics in our state. Until the state has a more solid financial footing, we are unable to encourage more dental care through increased reimbursement. This bill is designed to be another way to encourage more Medicaid participation. I would really like to thank the Public Health and Welfare Committee for their diligence in studying this bill, making some minor needed changes, and passing it out unanimously to the full Senate. After the amendments were made, the Kansas Dental Association, the Kansas Dental Hygienists Association, the Kansas Association for Medically Underserved, or KAMU, and the Kansas Section for Children all support the bill as presented today. And I might just add that I have heard from dental hygienists who are students and those out in practice, and they all do support this bill. So with that, I would stand for questions.
Questions for the Senator from Shawnee. Senator from Wyandotte, Senator Petty.
Thank you. I would just like to support the chairman of the Health Committee and say that this is definitely a compromise bill that brings the parties together. And I think the thing for us to look forward to is that it does have an implementation period that will also give time for the program to be developed and for us to see how it's working across our state, and then the review process that will follow that. So I definitely support this bill and encourage others to do that.
Further questions for the Senator from Shawnee? Seeing none, Senator, you may close.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I said in caucus, and I'll say it again, I really feel like I have to pinch myself before I read this, but I can't believe this day is here. I move that when the committee rises and report Senate Bill 312 favorably for passage.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. The chair recognizes as Majority Leader, Senator from Johnson, Senator Denny.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move the committee rise and report.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. Motion carries.
The clerk will read the committee report.
On motion of Senator Denny, the Senate resolved itself into the Committee of the Whole for considerations of bills on the calendar under the heading of General Orders with Senator Peterson in the chair. Recommended, House Bill 2256 be passed over and retained in place on the calendar. Senate Bill 307 be amended by the adoption of the committee amendments, be further adopted on motion of Senator Dillinger, and the bill be passed as further amended. Senate Bill 323 be amended by the adoption of the committee report, recommending a substitute bill, and the bill be further amended on motion of Senator Olson, and the substitute bill be passed as amended. Senate Bill 312 be amended by the adoption of the committee amendments, and the bill be passed as amended.
The chair recognizes the senator from Sedgwick, Senator Peterson, to adopt the committee report.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. I move we adopt the committee report.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. The chair recognizes Majority Leader from Johnson County, Senator Denny.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. I move an emergency be declared, the rules suspended, and the following bills be advanced to final action and roll call. Senate Bill 307, substitute for Senate Bill 323, and Senate Bill 312.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carried. We are now ready for final action. On this roll call, we will take the following. The last three bills on page 4, Senate Bill 307, substitute for Senate Bill 323, and Senate Bill 312. The clerk will read the titles.
Senate Bill 307, an act concerning amusement rights. Substitute Senate Bill 323, an act concerning utilities. Senate Bill 312, an act concerning the Kansas Dental Board.
The clerk will call the roll.
Alley. Baumgartner. Berger. Billinger. Bouvier. Bowers. Denny. Dahl. Estes. Pascadero. Fitzgerald. Francisco. Givens. Goddard. Haley. Hardy. Hawk. Hensley. Hildebrand. Holland. Kelly. Kirshen. Longbine. Lynn. Masterson. McGinn. Olson. Peterson.
Okay, I want to pass on 307.
Peterson. Petty. Pilcher Cook. Pyle.
Pass on 307.
Rogers. Schmidt. Skubal.
Yes.
Solotrop. Sykes. Taylor. Tyson. Wagle. Wilborn.
Has every senator had an opportunity to vote? Does any senator wish to change their vote? Does any senator wish to explain their vote? The clerk will close the roll and tally the vote. Voting in favor and 0 against for Senate Bill 312 and Senate Bill 323. 36 voting in favor and 0 against for Senate Bill 307. These measures, having received the required constitutional majority, are hereby declared passed. Correction and approval of the journal. Reports of standing committees. The clerk will read.
Madam President, the Committee on Public Health and Welfare recommends Senate Bill 386 be passed. Senator Schmidt, Chairperson. Madam President, the Committee on Ways and Means recommends Senate Bill 353 be passed. Senator McGinn, Chairperson. Madam President, the Committee on Ways and Means recommends Senate Bill 300 be amended and the bill be passed as amended. Senator McGinn, Chairperson. Madam President, the Committee on Ways and Means recommends Senate Bill 247 be amended and the bill be passed as amended. Senator McGinn, Chairperson. Madam President, the Committee on Public Health and Welfare recommends Senate Bill 398 be passed. Senator Schmidt, Chairperson. Madam President, the Committee on Agriculture and Natural Resources recommends Senate Bill 405 be passed. Senator Kirshen, Chairperson. Madam President, the Committee on Ethics, Elections, and Local Government recommends Senate Bill 394 be passed. Senator Bowers, Chairperson. Madam President, the Committee on Financial Institutions and Insurance recommends Senate Bill 351 be amended and the bill be passed as amended. Senator Longbein, Chairperson. Madam President, the Committee on Financial Institutions and Insurance recommends Senate Bill 348 be amended and the bill be passed as amended. Senator Longbein, Chairperson. Madam President, the Committee on Commerce recommends Senate Bill 334 be amended and the bill be passed as amended. Senator Lynn, Chairperson. Madam President, the Committee on Judiciary recommends Senate Bill 329 be passed. Senator Wilborn, Chairperson. Madam President, the Committee on Assessment and Taxation recommends Senate Bill 303 be passed. Senator Tyson, Chairperson. Madam President, the Committee on Judiciary recommends Senate Bill 295 be passed. Senator Wilborn, Chairperson. Madam President, the Committee on Judiciary recommends Senate Bill 281 be amended and the bill be passed as amended. Senator Wilborn, Chairperson. Madam President, the Committee on Transportation recommends Senate Bill 272 be amended by the substituting a new bill to be designated as substitute for Senate Bill 272 and the substitute bill be passed. Senator Peterson, Chairperson. Madam President, the Committee on Commerce recommends Senate Bill 185 be passed. Senator Lynn, Chairperson. Madam President, the Committee on Judiciary recommends Senate Bill 12 be amended and the bill be passed as amended. Senator Wilborn, Chairperson. Madam President, the Committee on Commerce recommends House Bill 2482 be amended and the bill be passed as amended. Senator Lynn, Chairperson.
We will refer back to that order of business, introduction of bills and concurrent resolutions. The clerk will read.
Senate Bill 421 by Committee on Federal and State Affairs and Act concerning labor. Senate Bill 422 by Committee on Ways and Means and Act concerning education. Senate Bill 423 by Committee on Ways and Means and Act concerning education.
This constitutes introduction of Senate Bill 421 through Senate Bill 423. Are there announcements? Chair recognizes Senator from Sedgwick, Senator Kershaw.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Ag and Natural Resources will not meet Monday, but I would ask we need a short meeting at the rail upon adjournment. The revisor suggested that Senate Bill 414 needs to be put into a substitute bill so we can eliminate printing all the deleted language. So I appreciate the committee meeting immediately on adjournment. Take care of it. Only take a minute. Thank you.
Senator from Cloud, Senator Bowers.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Senate Rural Caucus will meet Monday, room 281 North at noon. Our sponsor is Food and Agriculture Biotechnology Innovation Organization, and they're a member of BioKansas and Kansas Grain and Feed Association. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Senator from McPherson, Senator Willard.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Just want to remind the Judiciary Committee that Monday morning we'll have hearings and we have a full slate of bills to work. So hopefully they're early. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Senator from Johnson, Senator Olson.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. Senate Utilities will meet on Monday. We have possible, we will work bills we possibly have heard before, so just ask everybody to be there 1:30. Thank you.
Are there additional announcements? Seeing none, the chair recognizes the Majority Leader from Johnson County, Senator Denny.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. I do have one announcement. If you do want one of the new group pictures of the Senate, you need to place your order today because you remember the photographer raises his prices next week. So if you do want one, commit today. Mr. Vice President, I move the Senate adjourn pro forma until 8 a.m. on Friday, February 16, 2018.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carried. The Senate is adjourned.